These are the stock picks for the week of June 22, 2015. And when I say these, you're looking at nothing at the moment. Let me put them on the screen. Boom, there they are. They are all NASDAQ stocks. I thought I'd go with a theme this week. So let's go ahead and look at them. I'm going to be opening 3 free services, web online services, that allow us to usefully analyze these stock. So let's open those right now. The first is Yahoo Finance. Go to finance.yahoo.com and then click on Charts Interactive on the left. The next is stockta.com. And the final one is stockcharts.com. So usually what I do is I just use this chart to analyze the candlesticks, and then I do some backup checks with StockTA and StockCharts, looking at other indicators. But the main thing here is to look for what the candlesticks tell us, because if I'm doing these weekly stock picks, we only really care what's going to be happening within the next week, and candlesticks tend to be pretty accurate in predicting the follow-up trend of a stock. So you're going to want to switch to 1 month, and you're going to want to change this line type to candle type. This gives us the candlesticks for each day of the week or of the past month. I'm going to start with the pick Adobe, A-D-B-E. So enter that symbol right here, and you'll get the candlesticks for Adobe. Alright, so Adobe obviously has been trading pretty flat the past month, and we don't see much many interesting patterns in Adobe except for this 3 candlestick pattern and the most recent 2 candlestick pattern. We don't care about this because it's in the past. We care about this. This is called a deliberation. A deliberation is when you have a large green candlestick followed by a small green candlestick that's above the large green candlestick. What that means is that the traders who previously thought that this was a good buy are now a bit indecisive, and there's a little bit of resistance here to pushing the stock upward more. Now, in theory, this tells us the stock is going to drop, but in actuality, when you look at the statistics, the stock price continues upward. But we don't want to bet on that alone, so we're going to look at some other indicators. StockTA.com is nice because it gives you a bunch of indicators at once, but I find its stochastics to be a little unreliable. Anyway, if you want to know the general trend for a stock, it'll tell you up here. I really don't know where these numbers come from, so I don't trust them very much, but I'm sure there's some trustworthy basis to them. Regardless, what we really want to look at is, first of all, the support and resistance levels. If we have a very strong support, you're going to see a very strong green line, very solid green line. And what's interesting about Adobe is that the support level at 79.37 was just broken recently. So you saw it was broken actually on June 18th, and then this new deliberation candlestick kind of confirms that we've actually broken that support and it's not going to become a resistance again like it was before. We're banking on that in this bet, so it's actually a bit risky because you can see it's been falling below and jumping back above this level, and it's a really weird support because usually it stays either above or below, but in this case we've been jumping back and forth. It's almost like a magnetic line. However, if you look at all of the chart indicators, we want to look at the short-term column. They're all very bullish. Well, most of them are very bullish. What's most interesting is that the Fibonacci's are bullish, which means that should Adobe fall a bit, it will probably come back and come back stronger than it fell. It'll come back more than the amount it fell. So I would say at this point, getting in on the stock would be a smart idea for those 3 reasons. The reasons follow. We've got a deliberation candlestick, which statistically predicts a bullish trend. We are above a level of support, and we have strong Fibonacci's. So I'm going to make that as a first pick. And you can see it's a decent investment as well, so this might be something you want to hold on to, as the trend is pretty much bullish at any time period you look at. That's pick number one. Next is CY, which is a semiconductor company. So here we have a decent price for this stock. It's not a penny stock, but it's also not expensive. You can see that the trend is pretty much downward. We had a gap that was an area gap, and if you follow my gap game plan trading system, you would have seen the opportunity to short the stock at this time. But we didn't do that, and I don't recommend shorting stock for this weekly stock picks, because most people like to go long on stock, and I'm just not going to recommend shorting unless you want to go with put options, because shorting is going to expose you to unlimited risk, and that's not something you generally want to do. Although it's not necessarily unsafe if you're trading in the long term. But regardless, that's not our trade. This could have been our trade if we were shorting stock, and we could have made some good money here, but that's not what we're going to do. We're going to look at what's happening around here. Now, what's interesting is we have a lot of doji stars. Doji stars are candlesticks that are very, very thin and have lines up and below. You can see some candlesticks don't. For example, this candlestick doesn't have a shadow above it, this green one. This one doesn't really have a shadow below it. A doji star has even shadows up above and down below, and the body of the candlestick is really, really flat. This type of candlestick tends to signify investor indecision. It means the people buying and the people selling can't really decide which way the stock is going to go, and you've got pretty much a stock that trades between a very short, very tight region within the day and ends up at the same price that it opened at. So the opening price and the closing price are pretty much the same. Now, why would I make a recommendation here? Well, we've got a bullish doji star. You could call it bullish because it's within a red candlestick. It's almost like a bullish harami candlestick pattern, which predicts a bullish trend. Then you got another one. It's another thing. It's another indication of indecision. Now, at this time, you want to make a bet, because usually after a doji star, you see some sort of breakout. You don't see a very slow moving stock. Generally, after a doji star, a series of doji stars like this, you see some sort of significant movement. So we want to use some other indicators to predict the direction, but already it's looking kind of bullish here. One of the things I thought of when I saw this was to look at whether the stock is oversold or overbought. I believe it's oversold because it's at a low. Investors don't really know what to do, and we're going to check that with stockcharts.com in a second. But let's first go to StockTA and check out what's going on with these easy to access indicators. Now, we don't have really any good support or any significant resistance levels. Maybe we've got a slight one here at 1362, and what's another one? 1418. So we don't have a lot of walls standing in our way from growth, and we do have a somewhat decent support level right below us, which means that it's unlikely to fall much further than it has fallen already. So this would be a safe buy regardless, just based on that support level and the lack of strong resistance levels immediately above us. Now, all the chart indicators here say pretty bearish. They tell us that there's nothing really bullish going on with this stock. But like I said, I find the stochastics here to be not so reliable, and I like to use stock charts stochastics instead because they're actually quite different. So we're going to go to CY, and we're going to go down to the bottom to indicators, and I'm going to choose stochastics. Now you got several stochastic choices here. Go with slow stochastics simply because they're easier to read. What else do we want to look at? Why don't we look at the Arun lines, and we'll look at this. Alright, so we're going to look at a few other indicators. Now up above we have the stochastics. What's interesting and what's important about this indicator is that when you see the stochastic lines drop below the value of 20, as you can see right now they're at 16.25, it implies that the stock is oversold. So like I thought, the stock really is oversold and it's likely to bounce back soon, which means the price is going to bounce back as well. So we've all but confirmed a bullish trend when the stochastic lines, you see a red and a black line, when the stochastic lines are below the level of 20 and they intersect. And you notice they have just intersected. Once they cross and then black crosses over red, you can be pretty confident that the stock is going to begin going upward, and that looks like it's something about to happen. So now would be a great time to get in. Again, it's a bit speculative because this is our main indicator to make a bet on a stock, and you usually want more than one indicators. But I'm gonna say this is pretty decent. You can use this. I would, if you go with any indicator, just one indicator to make your bets, I would say the stochastics are the best, because just look at this. The same thing occurs when it's above. When you have the red crossing over the black above 80, it means the stock's about to fall, and you saw that happen here, again here, again here. So it's a pretty reliable indicator. The Arun lines don't tell us much here, nor does MACD. Okay, so this is a rather speculative bet, but it's using one of the best indicators out there. I would say this stock is oversold, it's going to grow, and you should probably buy this and get out at around 13.62 if you see if you see it slowing down at around that point. That's a decent profit. If it doesn't slow down, you should probably get out around 14.18, and if it goes past that, well, the sky's the limit, just hold on. But let's just assume the most conservative situation and you get out at 13.62. You've made $1 on your investment of 12.68, so how much money is that? So that's a ROI of 8%. You invest $100, you get $108 back, and that should happen within a week or so. So that's a pretty decent short-term trade. I'm going to move on to the next one, FTR. Because it's trading at 5, you can say it's like sometimes a penny stock, sometimes not a penny stock. Whenever it falls below 5, it technically becomes a penny stock. So this is a penny stock overall. But what we have here is we have a series of doji stars, and that means usually a breakout's going to occur pretty soon. Now, none of these doji stars were followed by anything interesting. This is not any recognizable pattern, nor is this, but this is a doji star followed by a bullish engulfing candlestick. Usually predicts an upward breakout, or at least an upward trend. So when we're getting in at a low priced penny stock, when there's a possible breakout occurring, we set ourselves up for an opportunity for large gains. But we also want to check the other indicators to make sure it's not going to be something that kind of fizzles or something that is risky. So the main risk here, well, first of all, we're above a support level, so there's not a high risk of falling below 4.97, but we're probably not going to surpass this resistance level. It's probably going to take quite a bit of time. We're not going to get there this week, so this is probably our maximum profit on this trade within a week, which is really quite good. That's about $1.50 on an investment of 503. So that's pretty high. That's a 30% ROI, and you probably shouldn't expect to get there within the week, but think of that as your maximum expected profit. Says the stochastics are very bullish. I'd like to double check that within sharp charts. Very bullish stochastics is exactly what we just saw in the last one. We have a black crossing over a red under the level of 20. However, now it's above 20. we might be getting in a bit late, but actually not so late because you can see the price didn't change much. So even though we've confirmed a switching of the trend and it seems like that the stock is oversold and we can get in at a moment when the trend is reversing, we haven't really missed out on any price opportunities except for possibly this. We could have saved like a 10 cents, 20 cents. But this is pretty good to get in on now. The stock is not a good investment, obviously. It's bearish in the long term. But the stochastics are saying that at least the stock is going to jump up a bit, and we can probably get a decent ROI within the week. This is not something you want to hold on to. The Arun lines aren't telling us anything good, nor is MACD. Yep. All right. So that's it. That's a pretty simple trade. FTR oversold. Get in during the week. $5. You know, put in $100. See what you get out of it. Get in during the week and then get out at the end of the week. I'm not going to advise you on when to get out, but you know, you could just keep in mind you have a resistance level, a very strong resistance level at a little under $7. So don't hold on too long. And overall, this stock has a very bearish trend, and you can just see that by eyeballing it, or you can trust these wherever these come from, these indicators. Let's move on to Zoma. I'm really unfamiliar with this company, as I should be because it's a penny stock. But then again, AMD is also a penny stock, and I think everybody knows AMD. So we got a $3 stock on the rise. We have this meeting lines to white soldier candlestick pattern, which is usually a good sign. It's when you have two green candlesticks and the top of the first green candlestick meets the bottom of the second green candlestick. That usually implies that we are moving upward and will continue moving upward. You can look at the line chart here. But let's take a look at the other indicators to make sure this is not a pump and dump kind of penny stock that we get in on too late and then get screwed over on. So Zoma, the analysis here tells us we got a decent support level right below us. So even if we fall, we're probably not going to fall below 3.73. It's pretty much safe to get in on. Fibonacci's are very bearish, or very bullish, sorry, which is a good sign. It means if the stock does fall, we're probably going to retrace and reverse and go back up. So it means if you buy the stock and the stock does fall after I make this recommendation, don't worry, hold on. Hold on to your seats because the stock will be going back up most likely. And let's take a look lastly at the stochastics. Nothing really interesting here. When the black line crosses over the red line, it generally implies a new bullish trend. The stock is going to move up to a new level in terms of its bullish momentum. But because it's crossing within the 20 to 80 area, it's not really a strong indication of where the stock is going, and it's not really as reliable as other indicators are. But it's still rather reliable, and that's one of the reasons I like stochastics, because even a crossover within the 20 to 80 line, and especially between the 50 and 80 line, is actually somewhat reliable and can kind of pad your evidence for making a buy or a long position on the stock. The Arun lines tell us that the stock is probably holding strong with its momentum. You can see the green lines pretty much hovering at the top, the red lines falling a bit. That's good news for people who are bullish on the stock. The MACD line says that the bullish trend is holding and is actually now in a kind of like confirmation area. The space between the black and the red is holding steady, and now that we've crossed over 0.0, we can say that the stock is officially bullish. So all of our indicators right now, I believe, besides, well, we don't care about the stochastics as per stock TA. We care about these stochastics more. But every indicator we looked at is bullish on this, so I would say so far this looks like the safest bet out of all of them. You might want to put in $100 here and see how it goes. Worst thing about penny stocks is when you do put in a little bit of money and it shoots up, you regret not putting in more. I've had that happen so many times. Alright, so last one is Zillow. Zillow has this kind of like dipping pattern. It looks like it's about to dip down and then, well, it's already dipped down. It looks like it's about to finish a dip and head back up. So I was interested in this. This is not officially any interesting candlestick pattern, but what really interests me is that the volume shot up. So there's probably some news event, and maybe people were getting in on it a bit late or finding out about it a bit late. I'm not really sure. Usually when there's a good news event with a high green volume, the candlestick will be much higher than it is right now. So I'm a bit interested to see what the other indicators are. And I've done this analysis already, but I kind of forgot what happened. But obviously I added it to my list of stock picks, so it's good news, whatever it is. Alright, we got a support at 90.39. Did we just break 90.39? Yes. Okay, so that's probably why I added this to the stock picks list. This new candlestick, whatever news happened, even though it didn't give us a breakaway gap, which would be good news, it did give us a candlestick that broke the support level, which is also very good news. So we just broke a support level. The stock is at 90.77. We're very unlikely to fall below 90.39. So that's the main reason I added this to this list, but why don't we check the other indicators anyway. The stock is not oversold. It looks like there's a bullish trend coming because the black line is above the red line. What else? The Arun lines say that the trend overall is kind of bearish, but you can see how they're kind of reversing, so they're coming back, and it looks like it's possible the Arun lines might meet again, and in that case the bullish trend has been confirmed. The Arun line is kind of slow, so you don't always want to put a lot of faith in it, but when you see these lines diverging, and not diverging, converging, like heading back toward each other, it's usually a good sign for the line that's on the bottom. So in this case, the line that's on the bottom is green, and that's the bullish line, so it's a pretty decent sign that the stock might turn bullish soon. The MACD is not, it is good news actually, because the black line has just passed over the red line, which signifies a possible change of the trend, which was bearish and now is looking bullish. So we've got two pretty good indicators and a support level and a candlestick that just allowed us to break that support level, which would give us a bullish trend on Zillow. So that's it for this week. Those are the 4 stock picks. I'm going to leave them up for a second. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below.